Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become the stepping stones to growth and clarity. Today we are joined by Jordan Mendoza. He is a top voice on LinkedIn, where he's built an audience of over 60,000 people, and the host of the globally ranked Blaze Your Own Trail podcast. But what's really at the heart of his message is something he captured in his best-selling book, The Life-Changing Power of Adversity. Jordan is incredibly open about the fact that his journey wasn't a smooth climb. He has faced significant personal hardships and professional setbacks, and instead of hiding them, he's learned to embrace those struggles as fuel for growth. So, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on FailCraft. It's great to have you here today.
Yes, Ezekiel, thank you so much for the opportunity to come on your podcast. And anytime I can share with an audience with the hopes to encourage, inspire, and motivate them, that's always my goal. So,
Great to have you here, sir. I am eager to dive in. So, your book, The Life-Changing Power of Adversity, and your whole philosophy are built on resilience. So, your bio also openly mentions facing significant personal hardships and professional setbacks. So, can you take us back to one of those defining moments? What was that low point like for you, and how did you even begin to turn that struggle into fuel?
yeah, I love it. Love the question. So, I want to take you back to the year 2000. So, we're going 25 years ago. I was 19 years old, and I was super excited and motivated because I was going to be going with the sales team from California to open a new office in New Jersey. And so we had a caravan of about, 5 or 6 cars, and there was a whole group of people that were going to move to open a new sales office. We drove on a very unorthodox route, like you do when you're 18 to 23 years old. You want to sightsee and you want to see the country. And so we drove from California down to Utah, to Arizona, to Nevada, and eventually made our way into the state of Wyoming. And for your listeners, if you're not familiar with the state of Wyoming, most people aren't, because there's nothing there. It's a bunch of state parks. It's a bunch of desolate freeway. There's not a lot to look at. And so I was in a Chevy King Cab pickup truck. My friend Jeremy was driving. I had a friend, Freddie and Kara were in the passenger seat. And I was actually sitting, Ezekiel, sideways because there's a bunch of boxes. We were moving across country. And at about 4 something in the morning, I was already asleep at the time. The driver, Jeremy, he actually fell asleep at the wheel. And when he woke
Wow.
up, instead of hitting the brake, he accidentally hit the gas so that the truck sped up to over 70 miles an hour. And then he also overcorrected the wheel, and so it started sliding. So I actually woke up, Ezekiel, to this truck sliding at 70 miles an hour. And literally within seconds, the truck started to flip. I remember flipping several times, and then it actually landed on its tires. The truck kind of crashed. Everything just crashed into place. The two people that were in front, Freddie and Kara, they actually climbed out. I was able to maneuver my way out of the vehicle. And when we looked at the front windshield and where our friend Jeremy was supposed to be, he was gone. And he had flown through the windshield. He landed about 25 yards from where the vehicle landed. When we eventually found him, we were all searching. Our whole caravan was searching for him. He stood up like a zombie and then fell back on the ground. And that's when we knew there was something seriously wrong. So luckily, our saving grace was there were some off-duty EMTs that were coming back from a conference in Colorado and just happened to arrive on the scene just in time to call the helicopter to get a life flight for our friend Jeremy to Casper, Wyoming. And it was at this point that I started to smell something very strange. I don't know if you've ever smelled iron smell, a lot of iron or blood loss. And so I started smelling this iron smell. And when I reached to my right leg, I actually reached on my right leg, and my hand went in about a fist deep into my right leg. I had a 12-inch cut a fist deep on my right leg. I was losing pints and pints of blood. I had an 8-inch cut on my left leg. Didn't even realize I was injured because of all the adrenaline from the accident. And so they found a heat blanket, put it on me. I got rushed to Rawlins, Wyoming, and I remember saying to the ambulance driver, I was like, slow down, you're going to kill me before I die. Like, you're going to kill me because you're going so fast. And I was on this wooden board as they're driving me 90 miles an hour to this hospital. And I didn't understand why I was losing so much blood. And so I remember they slapped me onto that icy cold table. They're stripping me down, and I just see a bunch of lights, and they start to count down. And then I woke up the next morning in a hospital bed. And one thing I left out in the story, Ezekiel, is in Utah, my buddy Branderis and we actually almost got into a physical fist fight. And the reason why we were fighting, yes, it's because we were teenagers. We didn't know any better, fighting over something. But the real reason is we were actually fighting and arguing about who was going to ride in the cool truck, which is the truck that I was in. And so when I woke up in that hospital bed, I looked him right in his eyes and I said, I'm glad it was me. Because it was in that moment, Ezekiel, where it dawned on me, what if he would have been in that truck? When you looked at the area I should have been sitting in, but because I didn't have my seatbelt on, my body was able to shift and maneuver into an area that didn't get smashed in. And so that's why when I saw him, I said, I'm glad it was me, because I thought in that moment, if he would have won that argument, he may not have been there. And so I'm a big believer that, God will never put us through something that we can't get on the other side of. And I was in that hospital for several weeks. I had to use a walker to go take showers. I had 52 staples between my two legs. They had to rebuild my right leg with laser surgery. They said there's a chance I might not walk. And when they told me that, Ezekiel, I was so motivated and fired. I was like, this is not going to be my reality. And so I worked very hard to go from walker to wheelchair to crutches, and then within 6 months, by the grace of God, made a full recovery. So if you want to talk about a moment in time that has some adversity and had significant impact, that would be it.
Oh, that was a truly inspiring story. Jordan, thanks for sharing. So, I'd like to know, how did you remain positive despite so much adversity? And when you were in that low point, how did you practically manage to do that, remain calm, remain positive, and believe you could actually come out of it?
Yeah. So for me, a lot of it boils down to my faith in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I know through Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And so for me, I have to lean on my faith because I can't do it on my own. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not wise enough. I definitely can't do it on my own. And then the second thing was community, being plugged into my church community, having people praying for me, having family, having people reach out. And when you can have this unshakable belief and faith that you're going to make it through, and then you have people that are cheering you on, that helps with your mindset. But it's also a choice, okay? Because the inner game controls the outer game. And if our inner game is not good, if our mindset is not right, that affects everybody that's around our environment.
Oh, wow. Really interesting one there. So, moving forward, let's talk about your success on LinkedIn. So, you've built a huge successful brand on LinkedIn, which so often just shows the highlights. So, how do you balance that with the personal hardships happening behind the scenes? And yeah, basically, so was it difficult to be authentic?
It's for me, it actually took the loss of my mom. When my mom passed away, I was just 31 years old. She was a very young, 54 years old. And it actually took me losing her to start to see value in my own story. I don't know if that makes sense, but so my mom was born in the 50s with one lung. And back then, they told my grandmother, hey, you know what? Here's your daughter. She's probably not going to live to 18. She's probably not going to be able to have any kids because of the capacity that childbirth has on your body. And she had one lung. And she lived to 54 and she had 5 boys. So she did really, really well with the hand that she was dealt. And so I actually put my mom on this pedestal of like, this is the epitome of adversity. Like she's the one that like pushed us and showed us that despite your circumstances, despite what kind of hand that you're dealt, you can still overcome. You can still be happy. You don't have to, it's a choice to be negative or positive, right? We all have that choice every single day when we wake up and we look ourselves in the mirror. Are we going to have a great day today? Are we going to live with that mindset, or are we not? And my mom was the epitome of that. I mean, I saw her almost die so many times when I was a kid, going to the hospital. She had a tracheotomy. I'd have to talk to her on a whiteboard. I mean, so I built up empathy at a very, very young age, and saw how resilient she was and how she didn't give up. And we were really poor, and I had an alcoholic stepdad that was abusive and in and out of jail, and just seeing her persevere through all of that. It took her dying for me to see that I had my own hardships. And I'm grateful that not grateful that she's gone. I'm grateful that she's not suffering anymore, because she had a very hard 54 years. But I'm also grateful that I had the realization through wise counsel and people like my wife to say, hey, like, yes, she was your mom and yet you love her and she's gone, but your life is not over. Just because she's not here doesn't mean that your story is over. You actually have your own story, And so it took that realization for me to get the courage to start to go back into the past and take inventory on the adversity that I had been through. And because I did that, I was able to extract so many stories, so many lessons, so many hardships, things that I didn't realize would be valuable to the outside world, things that I thought were too taboo to talk about in the corporate space. But, once I had that realization that it actually would do my mother a disservice by not sharing her story and sharing the epiphany that I got and realized that I had my own, that I need to do this. And so for me, once I had that realization, it was no longer hard. And today it's so easy to talk about because I know that it's going to add value. I know there's someone listening to the sound of my voice that has a story that has not had the confidence to share it. And my hope and encouragement is you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. If I can, make it through hardships and get to the other side and still have a smile on my face, then so can you.
All right. So, Jordan, how did that, period of setback directly shape your blaze your own trail philosophy? So, did the path, become clearer after the adversity?
Yeah, so I think it's always been evident to me that I was different. I wasn't great in school. I have undiagnosed ADHD, all the signs, all the symptoms. And back in the 80s when I was in school, people like me that were disruptors, that were, super extroverted and high energy, that you just essentially got sent to the principal's office. You got in trouble, because they didn't understand what to do with you, what to do with people like that. And so that turned into being a very resourceful kid. I had all kinds of side hustles as a kid, selling baseball cards, raking leaves, going door to door sales, and building up skill sets. So I have really, if I'm being completely honest, I've always blazed a trail. I just didn't know what that trail was back then. And but as
Mm,
far as the adversity is concerned, that has shown me that I can overcome. And what I know is that if I can do it, other people can too. And so that's really my mission, is to show people it doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what your background is. We are all going to face adversity. It's a guarantee. It's the one guarantee I tell everyone. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know when it's going to come. But we are the ones that are responsible for how we react and how we respond to it. And what are we going to do next? Are we going to stay down, or are we going to get back up? And so that's why I encourage people that, hey, anyone can blaze a trail. You just have to be willing to go out and take the risk to do it.
great. So, for the specific person listening right now who is facing their own significant adversity, maybe a personal hardship or a professional setback, and feels completely stuck. So, what's the first piece of advice that you'd give them to start their journey forward?
Yeah. Yeah. The first thing I would say is I've been there. I know how you feel. It's not a great feeling, but you can get on the other side. So that's the first thing I'll say is I'll just encourage you that if I can do it, you can do it because that's 1,000% true. I'm not smarter than you. I'm not more educated than you. You can definitely do it. The key is to not giving up, not letting yourself give up. And then what I would also love to say is I want to resource you. So I want to give you a couple tools, and these aren't my own tools, but they are tools that I've personally used that have helped change my perspective and my mindset. So the first tool that I will tell you about, it's called the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, the MBTI assessment. And you can go to mbti.com and find it. It's the world's largest personality assessment. Now, I'll also say this, if you're in a position right now where you don't have the budget to invest in a tool that's going to tell you about your personality, there are plenty of free ones out there. If you just Google free personality test, take one of those if you don't have the budget for it right now. So I'm just basically saying there's no excuse to find out about you, because once you know how you're
Hmm.
wired, it actually makes it easier for you to get along with other people and give them grace for how they're wired. Because let's face it, we're all different and we're supposed to be. We all
Yeah.
have unique gifts, talents, gifts, and abilities. I have ones that Ezekiel doesn't have. He has ones that I don't have, and vice versa. And that's how we're supposed to be. So once you can dive into your personality and understanding how you're wired, that's a really big unlock. And then the second tool I will give you is a tool called StrengthsFinders. And there's a book called StrengthsFinders 2.0. You can get it on Amazon. It's about $20. Not only are you going to get the book, but in the back of the book, there's an assessment that you take. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes, and it actually populates your top 5 strengths. Because once you know your strengths, and I'm sure your listeners probably have a good idea of what their strengths are, but this concretely lets you know what they are, then you can start to activate them on a more consistent basis. Because here's the truth, uh, everyone has natural gifts, talents, strengths, and abilities, but not everyone uses them to their full capacity. So, can you imagine a world where if you knew what your top 5 strengths were, and the same world where you activated them daily, how much better do you think your world would look? That's a question. So hopefully those 2 resources will be helpful and add value to the audience.
Great. That was a response packed with actionable insights. Thanks for sharing, Jordan. So, after all you've navigated, the adversity, the business building, being a father of 6. So I'd like to ask Jordan, what does being successful truly mean to you today?
Yeah, so my success for me is seeing the success of my clients. That's really it. When I see them take the information, the programs that I've created, the workshops, and go apply it and actually get results, that's so meaningful to me, because I know that it works if you work it. It's just like anything, right? If you want to get in better shape, you
Hmm.
start eating better and you go to the gym, right? It's a pretty simple
Yeah.
ingredients, right? If you want to gain weight, you keep eating, right? So, but when
Yeah.
there's plenty of people that want the recipe, but they don't want to bake it, the goods. And so if I could leave your audience with any advice, if you want to go blaze a trail, you've got to go take action. And the quote that I'd love to give your audience is quite simple. And it's: action creates momentum. Momentum creates consistency. Consistency creates
Hmm.
habits, and habits are what turn into the results that you're looking for.
Great quote, dear. Great quote. This has been an inspiring conversation for listeners who want to go grab a copy of The Life Changing Power of Adversity or follow your work. So, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, I'll say 2 things. The first one is you can find my book anywhere they sell books. We're at probably 40,000 locations worldwide. The number one place I'd love for you to grab a copy is Amazon. We've got the Kindle for just $5. If you're Amazon Unlimited subscriber, you can get it for $0.00. Pretty cheap investment. And if you want the soft cover, it's $20. The hardcover is 25. So it's not going to break the budget, but I can tell you this: the content within, and it's a short read, will add value to you for years to come. And if you take action on the advice that I give you in the book, you will see results in your business as well. And there's lots of resources. Matter of fact, the two resources I share on the podcast, I actually share them in the book. That's how powerful they are, and that's how much they've created impact in my world. So I just want to say, Ezekiel, I appreciate your time. Thank you for inviting me to share a little bit about me with your audience, and I hope it truly adds value.
Thank you very much, Jordan, for showing up. Yeah, like I said earlier, it's been a really insightful conversation, and I really appreciate having you on the podcast today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.